Welcome, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your producer and host of the show, Dr. Lino Martinez. This is your motivational podcast of people's incredible journeys. Oh, yeah, let's do this. Welcome back, everybody, to A Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I would love to welcome back for the second time, Mark Collins. Mark Collins is a business life coach, the founder of Freedom for Life, and the author of the transformational leadership book, Life Mastery, Living Life by Design, Not by Default. Mark helps men in overcoming the fear and uncertainty that is standing in the way of the life they are created for. He has a singular passion to see men unleashed as the hero they are created to be in their business, relationships, and in life. And today we're talking about how he helps men become divorce proof. What a hot topic. And I'm so glad to see you again. Welcome back to A Little Less Fear podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Lino. I'm excited for the conversation.
I'm super excited. You know, last time you were here was back in October. That was in episode 264, and we are now going to be in episode 283. So it's been quite a few months, but I'm really glad to see that we've got some incredible topics to keep covering here and keep just helping people realize their inner truth and the love that they have already within themselves, and no need to be seeking it elsewhere because that light already exists within them. But I'm really curious, why are we talking about how to help men become divorce proof? Why is this a topic that's of interest to you?
It's interesting because somebody asked me, hey, have you kind of refocused or changed your focus in business and ministry? And I said, no, it's actually refining it. We talked about life mastery. Oh, yeah, I've got my book, Living Life by Design, and I've got the course. And typically, I was dealing with people in business, men in business in general, and really trying to help them to unleash that hero in hiding that we talked about. But the conversations kept coming back to relationship. You know, a lot of times we want strategies in business to try and succeed in business. But the conversations I was having when it got to mastering your thoughts, words, and actions, living out of your identity, the conversation always seemed to roll around to relationships, to struggles in the relationship, or trying to figure out how to navigate it. Sometimes business is easier than relationship, especially if you're the person in charge, because I'm the decision maker, and I'm the person who signs the paychecks and whatever the thing is that you have. And even if you're a great boss or manager or leader of people, it's easier because there's a hierarchy of authority that allows you to have those conversations. But in relationship, now it's different, Dr. Lino. Now it's a negotiation for the middle, for that
Wow, I
place
love
of
how you said that. Yeah.
unity and vulnerability and authenticity, and it's trying to figure out, I'm not the boss of you, you're not the boss of me, but we're supposed to be united in this thing we're doing called our life, our relationship, and our time together. And that's harder because in that place insecurity can happen, and offense can happen, and all sorts of things can come into it. And so, long story short, all of my conversations started to drift towards relationships. And I thought, this is, instead of avoiding it and trying to speak to the thing that I think matters, which I think relationships do as well, I wanted to refine the focus in the area that I'm constantly having the conversations around. And that was relationships and men, and trying to navigate the relationship at home that maybe all the time isn't working out well.
That's fascinating. And also, if someone is not navigating that relationship at home, eventually, even if you are the boss and your business is doing well, it's gonna spring those problems and those feelings and that frustration is gonna sprinkle into your professional life as well.
Yeah, and the opposite as well, which is really interesting, right? So when I'm stressed at work, I take it home. When things aren't working out well, who's the man that shows up at the doorway? We think that we can compartmentalize,
Right.
but at the end of the day, that's just not true. And again, if they want to go back and listen to the other episode, I would recommend it. But for us, life mastery is living from who you're created to be at the highest level you're created for, and
Yeah.
in every area of life, not being amazing
Right.
in business and having a marriage that's a disaster or a relationship that fails. So I believe you can have the highest level of life in all of those areas.
I just love this, created for the life that you were created for in all areas of your life. How does one I remember our last episode, which was really incredible, making the to-do list and just making sure that you're making these lists and your daily activities with your greater good, your highest, your greater highest good for the greater good of all involved. But how does one stay focused in the problematic area and such as marriage or relationships and trying to make sure that somebody doesn't start to get tempted with the D word, the divorce word? How does one stay so focused in this relationship? I mean, let's say that let's just hypothetically say that we've got the rest of our life or all our other things in our checklist in alignment, and we feel that we're doing things to our greater good, but we're not doing our best in our relationship. How does one show up being their best and doing their best in a relationship if they're not even aware of how to even start?
That's a great question. I think so. There's a couple of things that word we talked about in our last conversation was identity. The foundation of everything we do in life mastery comes from identity. And what I said was you're either living from who you're created to be or what your life has told you.
Yeah.
And our life has told us a lot of things. Academically, it may have told us that we're not good enough, or physically, it may have told us that we have this area where we're, I had pneumonia when I was 1 years old, and they told my parents to watch out because I could have asthma when I go to right. So there's those physical capabilities that may not be equal to other people's, but there's also the relationship side of it. And if I could tell a quick story, when I was 6 years old, I'm not sure if I told it on the last conversation we had, but so my dad was in the military, and so in the military in the United States, you have a job. It's called an MOS, and if your skill set is needed somewhere else, well, then you are taken to that place. So it's either you get up and move, and you're there for a few years, or they call it TDY, which is temporary duty, meaning that the person leaves, but the family stays. And he was in one of those positions where he went to a different country because they needed his skill set, his role. He was in the finance area. And so they needed him in a foreign country. And my mom was left with four young kids to take care of, and the household and the bills and all of that. First time that she had done that by herself since they had been married. She had four kids, my two older sisters, myself, and my younger sister. And it was overwhelming to her. And she had a nervous breakdown. And so she was hospitalized for a period of time. And myself and my siblings, my three sisters, were all separated into four different family members, took one each of us four kids, and took care of us in their household until my father was able to get back into the United States and she was able to recover. That changed the relationships that I had in my life from that point forward. And it wasn't my mother's fault, but there's an identity statement that you take from the experiences you walk through. And that experience, right, where the man who was a security and safety and the person who I could count on to be a protector was gone. And then the person who was my comfort, my care, my love, my compassion was gone. And in that place, this little man of 4 or 5 years old, he had an understanding, and the understanding was that people who love you leave you.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine growing up into your teenage years when you're having those first
Oh
dates
yeah.
with those people, or you're growing up into a marriage as a young adult and we're not getting along.
Right.
You understand what relationship looks like. Well, people who love me leave me. And then the emotional response to that is fear and shame and worry and grief and all those other things that come along with a relationship that's not working out. See, everybody has a life that tells them something. And many times that relationship is part of that life that's told us that maybe we're not as good as, or things don't work out for us, and you can't expect too much, or, the codependence, or there's some of the other things that we deal with. So, first off, it's understanding is your relationship. I'll call, my wife, I've been married for 33 years. So is my wife a part of my relationship, a part of who I am, or is she a substitute for who I am? Do I need her to be validated as a man, as a husband, as a father, or is she a benefit in my life? I tell people this all the time. My wife is a benefit in my life, not a necessity,
I love that.
because I'm fully formed as an individual and confident in who I am apart from her.
Yes.
But my wife makes every part of my life better. I'm better as a man. I'm better emotionally, relationally, and socially because I have a wife like she is. And so I'm not invalidating the things that she brings to the relationship, but I don't need my wife to prove who I am. I already know that. But many times we need that in our relationship. And by the way, this is 33 years. Early on in our marriage, that wasn't the case. Early on in our marriage, I was an insecure man who needed to have a great relationship, needed you to make me feel better about me. And when that wasn't working out, we had our challenges, we had our conflicts, we were on the verge of divorce. And I had to figure out what was standing in the way. And what was standing in the way in my life mastery journey was an identity statement and insecurity that said that people who love you leave you. And so in
How
that
did you come
place,
to that? How did you come to that? Because not that many people can actually come with that core belief, with that automatic thought. I mean, it can take I mean, obviously it took you years, but how
yeah,
did you actually realize these are the thoughts that are feeding my head, the pattern that's in my mind for years and years, and this is what I need to work on.
it's a great question. So what we tell people that we work with is the emotion is that flag in golf. There's in golf, they have a green, which is where they try and shoot the ball, and there's a flag in the hole, and
Mhm.
it lets the golfer know where to aim for. For people in our life, our emotion is that flag. It's the indicator that, hey, there's something going on here that you may want to address. So when we have in this place where we weren't getting along and we were literally having conversations about divorce, we worked through that. We had some counseling things like that. But the truth is that it was my life mastery journey. It was me unpacking identity and understanding that, hey, where is this emotion coming from? This feeling of insecurity, this feeling of she's not respecting me, she's not giving me everything I need, right?
Right.
Whatever the thing is that you feel like you deserve or desire. And in that place, trying to figure out, okay, well, what's the thing behind that thing? What's the emotion that you're
Yeah.
feeling? Disrespect or not being valued or not being good enough, or this all there is? And in that place, starting to figure, okay, well, where is this coming from? And starting to unpack again, living from who you're created to be or what your life has told you. When you feel that insecurity, that fear, that worry, that anger, that disrespect, or what have you, what's the underlying thing? What's the identity statement you're taking from this?
Yeah, I love that.
And where did that come from? Where's the first time you felt like you couldn't trust the relationship, like you're going to be abandoned, like you're going to be left
Right.
behind? And in that place, again, emotion is a flag telling you what you need to address. It's your current emotion isn't the first time you felt it, it's just the latest. It's a response to what you believe is the correct response to what I'm doing. So
Right.
when relationships are working out well, oh, I know how I'm supposed to feel: angry, worried, stressed, right? Regretful or shameful or whatever the thing is you're feeling. Well, when you can figure out where that first came from and you can start to unpack the truth about that circumstance, in my case, through the journey of life mastery and really starting to unpack some of the strategies we have, started to remember, hey, you remember when? Remember when you felt abandoned because both of your parents were gone and you were living with people you didn't even know. And here's the lie that I believed, that I wasn't worth loving. Here's the truth that I found out in my life mastery journey. When you start to understand identity, you can start to look at your past from the truth of what it is, not who you are. And in that place, started to understand that it wasn't that I wasn't loved. My father had a responsibility to his job and he did it, which is admirable. And my mother had a circumstance that she couldn't cope with. It wasn't a statement of my value in their lives. It was a statement of his responsibility and her inability. And in that place, it had no bearing on their love for me or her love for me. It was just something she had to be helped to walk through at the time. When I understood that, when I saw that, when I realized the truth of that circumstance, it changed my relationship from that day forward, because now I wasn't clinging onto a relationship or shoving one away because it wasn't working out. And you know how it goes. If this isn't going to
Sure.
work out, I'm going to be the first one to break up. I'm not going to,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
You
leaving.
don't,
Right.
you don't think about those things, but that's kind of how you react.
Hmm.
I'm going to make sure I don't get hurt. So I'm going to do the thing first. I'm going to break up. I'm going to get divorced. I'm going to do this. But in that place, instead of doing that as a response, I started to be able to unpack, okay, well, if that's not the truth and I know who I am, what's the man that's supposed to show up in this relationship? Who am I supposed to be? And what am I expecting from her that I'm not giving to her?
I love that. Who am I supposed to be in this relationship? That's a great
Yeah.
question. I have another question. In regards to when you realized that where this insecure feeling was coming from, did you have to go through a period of like forgiveness, or was that just all encompassing? That was forgiveness, having that epiphany.
Yeah. I think in some cases, in some places, forgiveness will be important.
Hmm.
And so if you're being abused or you were being belittled or what have you, there's a forgiveness that allows you to release yourself from the burden of that issue.
Yes.
And that's very valuable and very valid. In the case of my parents, it was really a realization of who they really were. Sometimes we look at them as who we want them to be,
Right. Yeah.
and when they don't meet that expectation, it wounds you. And in this case, it was who I felt she should be versus what her reality allowed her to be. And so there wasn't forgiveness that was needed, but a realization of who she was and giving her permission to be that. And again, if you're in a place where you've been abused or you've been, traumatized through something you've done, I'm not saying that um, you make excuses for who the person was.
Mhm.
But this was a circumstance where there wasn't abuse, there was just a response to the circumstance I was walking in. So forgiveness wasn't needed because offense wasn't given.
I
But
love
in
this. Yeah.
but in those places where it is, then as you can, forgiveness is something that's important. Not validating the behavior, but expressing I refuse to allow this to tell me who I am anymore.
Yes. And it's just so interesting that even if somebody doesn't purposely hurt somebody, that people become wounded because of a story they keep telling themselves. But it's really fascinating that once you actually go back to break it down and then realize where this emotion is coming from, how it's springing up all the time in certain little aspects in different areas of my life, then you're actually able to have that aha moment and clear off that negative energy that's been inside your heart for so long.
Yeah, and it all starts with the emotion. It doesn't end with the emotion. A lot of programs will have you manage the emotion, right? Oh, I'm feeling insecure. Oh, okay, we'll talk yourself through it and, help yourself to be seen and to be heard and all of those things. And that's not that those aren't tools that you can use, but the challenge is when you only deal with the emotion as the thing to correct. We've talked about it, I believe, before. You're dealing with the fruit, not the root.
Right.
But when you're dealing with the identity statement that's causing the emotion, now all of a sudden you can unpack the thing that really is standing in your way. That's the difference between change and habit versus transformation that brings you freedom.
Yeah. Because, well, let's get a little deeper with that. How is that different than the change of habit?
Because a habit is something you have to maintain your whole life. So insecurity comes up. I talk myself through it. What are you feeling? Breathe, breathe deeply, do these things, give yourself mantra to believe I am a person of confidence. I am a person of confidence. Right. And so I do those things until that emotion goes away, it subsides, it's not there any longer. And then it comes up the next time we disagree, or you don't answer the phone, or you don't answer my text, or whatever. And it happens the next time, and the next time after that. When you're managing your life through habit, you never can get over it. It's always something you have to continue. I call it the cycle of change, because you're always changing yourself. You're always reminding yourself of who you are. And in that place, it becomes exhausting. It's that thing of, I can never move forward from it. I just need to manage it when it comes up. And I think that that's a lie that a lot of people have believed, that I should just manage my emotion, right? The anger management, or managing fear and
Yes,
managing
right,
those things.
managing.
But what if you didn't have to? What if those negative emotions were a response to what you're identifying as the thing that you need to be? When you live from who you're created to be, then fear doesn't have a place, and insecurity doesn't have anywhere to grab a hold of you at. So the difference between change and habit is something you never move past. You're always having to recreate it, recreate confidence, recreate those things. Transformation is when I understand who I'm created to be, I don't have to work myself up to become him.
Because you
I,
already are.
because I already am. And as the more I'm aligned with who I'm created to be, the less I have to work anything up to prove it, to show it, to get over it. And so
Right.
in that place, anger doesn't have a place for me, or insecurity doesn't have a place. We can have a disagreement, and I'm okay with me. Not that I don't have a part in resolving the issue, but this issue has no bearing on who I'm created to be. It's just a disagreement or a misunderstanding or a incorrect phrase that we need to work through.
I love this. As you're speaking, I'm just seeing you light up. I see your aura, and I'm just like, "Wow, you're glowing." I love this. This is incredible, and I'm absolutely 100% feeling all of it. So then, how do you help men become divorce proof? I mean, let's say that there are men that've got a pattern of infidelity. I mean, how does somebody even start? How do you start with somebody that has um, this oh God, what's the word? Urge. This like just I guess just a constant urge to keep doing. How does someone break that habit?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think The truth of the matter is we all have sexual urges, right? As a human being, you're created with those. The challenge is that it's not really about the I'll put it this way, it's not about the medication, it's about the reason you're taking it.
Hmm.
And so at the end of the day, you're either living from who you're created to be or your life has to make up the difference. And when I don't feel secure about who I am, I need to constantly reprove it. I've been in that place early on in relationships, Dr. Lino, that I was that person who was seeking out after sexual gratification, trying to have women in my life, having those kind of conquests and conversations and those actions. And it's not that sexual desires are inappropriate, they're absolutely part of the normal life and of physiology of who we are. The challenge is when I'm constantly having to have those things, it really isn't me being that kind of player, that playboy, that guy out on the street, right? We try and minimize the impact by trying to act like it's okay. But what it is it's insecurity that's working its way out that I need to have these women in my life. I need to have this thing in my life. It's not a desire like, oh, you can't control it. Yeah, you can. But it's the medication you're using against the life you don't like.
Wow, I love that. So
Same
it's a
as everything else.
someone
Same as
using.
control,
Yeah.
having to control other people or your circumstances, your outcomes. Same
Hmm.
as a man who has anger issues, right? The anger issue
Hmm.
isn't the anger issue. The anger issue is an insecurity issue that shows up as anger. I'm going to get my way no matter what. And if it doesn't go my way, I'm going to be angry. So I'm either going to punish you or make sure that it happens the way I want it to. That's what anger, that's what control is, that's what infidelity is. Because at the end of the day, you can get as much sexual gratification from your wife as you can from your wife plus 12 ladies.
Hmm.
So it's not the sex that's the issue, it's the need to feel validated and valued that's the issue. That's what the issue was for me. And so in that place, when you have the conquest, well, that's not good enough. I need somebody else. So I need that next one. And then I need the one after that.
Right.
And these are all, again, the medication against the life you don't like. When you start to unpack that, when you start to understand that you're greater than the things you're walking through, you're greater than the life you're believing yourself to live. When you start to understand who you're created to be, not living from what your life has told you, well, now all of a sudden, I don't need you to make me feel good about me. It's not that relationships don't matter, but they're a horrible substitute for identity.
They really are. I love how you said that. It's the medication towards a life you don't like. So when somebody is tempted for infidelity or substance abuse or other things, I'm just thinking the minds of what causes an addiction. Because for there's a lot of men where this is an addiction, and
That's what
all
they
of
call it.
yeah,
And because they call it that, it gives an excuse not to have to put the work in to overcome it.
and makes it easier for them to kind of stick there. Well, I've got this addiction.
Habits and change versus transformation.
Yeah. Well, how do you simplify this to a man that's having these type of urges and feels that it's let's say a man says to you, "Well, I'm in my 50s now and I've been like this since I was 18 and this is these are all part of my needs. This is what makes me feel complete and strong and masculine and I really don't know how to overcome these type of struggles."
Well,
If
there's a difference between the two. That first guy I can't work with and I won't. Any man who excuses it away and acts like it's a part of who he is, well, I can't change your belief in yourself. And I don't want to put the time into trying. I can't want your healing more than
yeah.
you do.
Oh, right.
And in that place, and unless you're looking for change, you won't find it.
Mhm.
If you believe that this is just who I am, you're just going to have to accept me for who I am. That's cool. But life mastery won't work for people who believe that they don't need to change. It's that guy that is tired of it, who's dealing with pornography or the secret sin or the thing he's hiding from his spouse or his, significant other. It's that guy that I can work with because I believe that on the inside, he believes that I'm more than this. I just don't know how to get over this. And so that's somebody I can work with. And it's first by letting them know that thing that you think is the whole issue is really just the symptom. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it doesn't have impact and hurt other people or yourself. What it does mean is if you're again fruit versus root. If I'm dealing with the symptom of I'm reaching out, I'm online, I'm talking to ladies, if that's the only thing I'm doing, then I'll constantly have to continue to manage that.
Hmm.
There's a difference between mastery and management. Management is dealing with it as it comes up. Mastery is aligning my life with who I'm created to be. So we understand it's a symptom, it's not the root. Well, the root is your identity. Who are you telling yourself you are? Your value, your worth, your integrity, right? All
Yes.
of those things that you're trying to find from other people, you'll never find from any of them. Just like a
Right.
alcoholic addiction or a drug addiction, right? It's there's never enough. There's never that one more time and now I feel fully satisfied and
Yeah.
fulfilled. It's always the next one and the next one and greater and more frequently and all of that. That's dealing with your symptom, dealing with the root. The root cause is an identity statement that you're living out. You'll never be greater than you believe you are, and you'll never be worth more than you believe you are. And so, in that place, if I feel like this is all I deserve, or I'm just going to be satisfied for a moment, you'll make those decisions. And I've been there, and millions of guys have.
Oh
But
yeah.
it doesn't mean you have to stay there. What if there's more for you? What if you're greater? What if there's more value in you than the things that you're doing? And starting to unpack identity. We talked about that in the first program, right? An I
Yeah.
am statement, who you are apart from your experiences in past and apart from your accomplishments. Who's the guy looking back in the mirror? A celebration list of who are you created to be? What do you love about you? If you
Mm-hmm.
can celebration
Love
list
that.
of what you love about you and an accomplishment list of what are you accomplishing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Many times we use these things to medicate ourselves because the life we don't like is the one that keeps showing up every day. I want to have more, but I don't have. I want to have amazing, but I got average. I want to go for great things, but I'm afraid to try. Right. And in that place, we substitute for those things that kind of numb us for a little period of time. But when you see that you're an accomplishment waiting to happen, that you're a man worth valuing and celebrating, that there's character and value and worth in who you are, then you naturally stop looking for other things as a substitute for it.
Mhm. I love the way you speak.
I
It brings me so much peace. I love it. Hey, Mark,
appreciate it.
what about men saying, you know what, I've been in this relationship 5, 10, 15, 20 years and I'm bored now. I'm starting to get bored. I'm kind of curious. I don't want to be this type of guy, but I'm curious what it's like to talk to someone else. My wife kind of bores me now. I mean, what if it's not an issue of infidelity, but just curiosity because of boredom?
Well, then what I'd probably say is she your wife or a roommate? I again, early on in my marriage with my wife, we were at the on the verge of divorce. We were struggling and challenged, and much of it was myself and me having to walk through identity statement and my life mastery journey to really unpack, get over the pain and the hurt of my past, and really live from who I'm created to be. So I'm not saying that I'm perfect and you're not, but what I would say is this: I felt like there was more and better out there than my wife, but it was really me needing that next thing to make me feel good about me.
Right.
When I started to invest in the life mastery, the strategies of mastering my thoughts, words, and actions, when I started to overcome those issues of feeling insecure and not worthy, I started to be able to love me. And in that place, was able more and more easily and more completely to love her.
Mhm.
You can't love somebody else more than you do yourself. And if I am
Right.
bored with you, it's probably because I'm bored with my life
Mm-hmm.
and I need somebody else to make it exciting again. When I love who I am, when I love the person I am, when I'm living the life that I believe I'm created for, this is exactly who I'm created to be, then my marriage is an enrichment to me. My wife makes me better. Again, I told you in the beginning, my wife isn't a necessity, she's a benefit. But she's a benefit that I am so grateful for because I see the value that she brings and who she is. That came from a guy who could understand who he was first. I can't give you more than I know I am. And in that place, I can't expect from you more than I can bring to the relationship. And so if you're bored with your relationship, I'm pretty sure you're probably bored with your life and your job isn't satisfying and this thing or that thing, your car isn't good enough and your income isn't great enough. And it doesn't mean you're not meant for more, but setting one relationship aside to go into another one. I tell people in a course I have, when everything around you is an issue, maybe the issue is you. The issue
Yeah.
for me was me. My job wasn't good enough. My income wasn't good enough. I didn't like my car. I didn't like where I lived. I didn't like my marriage. At the end of the day, it was me projecting on the outside world what I was feeling about myself.
That makes perfect sense. And so, I mean, that also sounds like that it could cause depression with someone. The way you were saying that, like all this nothing. I'm not happy on the inside, so it's projecting onto the outside. I mean, that feels like it can turn into depression. Like, how do we, or how would you help navigate someone in this depression? How does one start to compartmentalize the parts that need to be, I guess, happier or more in alignment with someone's energy or their personal identity in order to make sure that their relationship gets salvaged?
Yeah, it all comes down to identity, Dr. Lino. The more I love me, the more I'm able to love others. The more I love who I am and see the truth of who I am, the more the world doesn't have to make up the difference. Because challenges are going to happen. There'll be times when, things aren't going well, when there is tragedy, when there is bad news, when experiences aren't amazing, right? Life is going to happen to everybody. But is it, we talked about it, I think, on our last conversation that my mother died in April. And I was there for the week and in her room every day. And I was there when she passed away. And there was a time when she had passed away, but before the caregivers could come and take the body. And I was there with my brother-in-law, and he said, sometimes life is just horrible. And I told him this. I said, no, life is really amazing, but this is just a really tough time. So when you understand who you are, you can walk through the challenges and the tough times of life and not have them affect who you believe you are. Right?
Yes.
I call it a victim or a victor mentality. A victim mentality is life is happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
A victor mentality is I'm happening to my life.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between the two is I'm a bystander. And I wrote that in my book, and it's actually a part of one of my courses where I said, are you the bystander or the hero waiting to happen? A bystander, my life just happens to me and I have to respond to it. When I know that I'm the hero in my life, then I am the life that's happening to it. And in that place, it can't stop me from the things that I believe I'm supposed to have.
Yes, I love that. The victor or the victim. And they both start with Vic.
Yes, I do.
What's the most challenging advice that you've been, I mean, if advice is even the right word, but what's the most challenging situation that you've had with clients that you've coached in their relationship? What's the biggest thing that you see needs the most coaching?
Belief in yourself. Yeah. For myself and everybody else included, I believe this thing on the inside that says, there's more that I can be, more of a man, a husband, a father that I can be. And then there's the guy that shows up. And over a period of time, when you show up small in your life, when you don't reach out for the big things, when you disengage or you hurt and harm versus help and love, at some point you can kind of give up on yourself a little bit.
Mhm.
And so the biggest challenge is after trying things, or may have tried counseling, may have tried coaching, may have tried, advice from other people, and those things didn't work out because again, you're dealing with roots and symptoms versus hearts and healing. In that place, you can kind of give up on yourself. And so the
Yeah.
biggest challenge is for guys to be willing to bet on themselves again, to be willing to say that I've made these mistakes, but my experiences aren't the sum total of who I am. They're just something I've walked through.
Mhm.
And in that place, be able to be bigger, be greater, be more than what your past has told you and your experiences have proven to you. Really being who you're created to be, even if you don't have evidence that it's actually happened or is going to happen.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, your belief will come before all of the actions and all of the outcomes. But without belief, those things will never come. So for
Yes.
me, it's really rebuilding that belief or giving those guys that hope that maybe this is the time. Mark's been through it, or he's coached a bunch of people through the same thing. So I can be one of those guys and I can actually have this in my own life. It's really this belief that I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to do it, even though it didn't work out in the past.
Mhm. Absolutely love that. Just bet on yourself. Yeah, I don't know. The question as you were saying this, I'm wondering if somebody, I mean, what kind of, how about this? What kind of advice can you give somebody that just got married? to live a long, healthy, beautiful relationship, what kind of advice would you give them? They just got married.
Yeah, I was at a conference last summer, and what I told them was something they probably didn't want to hear. I said, two unhealthy people can't have a healthy marriage. And
Ooh, that's powerful.
and one unhealthy person can have a healthy marriage. If I'm healthy and she's not, or if she's healthy and I'm not, our relationship still won't work out. Right.
Right.
So what I tell people is there's I think it was probably 25, no, probably maybe close to 30 years ago. I'm a bit older. So I read this book a long time ago, and the title stuck with me, and it'll probably stick with me for the rest of my life. This guy wrote a book, and the book title was The Best Gift I Can Give You is a Healthy Me. And in marriage, the best gift I can give my wife is a healthy me. It's investing in tools and strategies to really understand and unpack my identity, overcome the pain of my past or the challenges that I've walked through, be able to celebrate me, believe in my accomplishments, and live out who I'm created to be because it's that guy that she deserves. And
Yeah.
her for me as well. And so in that place, I am a pastor, I am a Christian, I'm a person that has a faith walk. And what I believe is that God creates a man for his wife, not the man that shows up many times, but the man that you were created to be. And so my job and my responsibility is to unpack who that guy is to unleash that guy. The hero in the house is what I call it. And in that place, be able to be the man that she was created for and that I was created to be in the relationship. And in that place, the more I do that, the better our relationship is. The more forgiveness is a part of a normal time, the more vulnerability is something we live in. Authenticity and unity are things that we walk in. It's not moments that we live, but it's the lifestyle that we have in our household. So even early on in your marriage, it's never too early to walk in freedom, to have life mastery be your lifestyle. And in that place, the outcome is relationships that are better than you could have imagined.
That's so beautiful. And so you would advise or tell people that it's best to work on yourself first. So can people work on themselves together?
No. Here's the truth. Many times we don't want to work on ourselves, we want to work on them. Right? She needs to change, or he needs to grow, or she needs to be more understanding, or he needs to be more empathetic, or whatever the thing is that we're doing. The challenge is that my journey is my own. You can't give me my identity, and you can't heal my hurt.
Mhm.
That's called codependence. And sometimes we're in relationships like that,
Codependent.
where, like I talked about earlier, where I want your healing more than you do. And what it'll happen is you'll not get healed and I'll be frustrated. So, really,
Right.
you can want it for me. You can encourage me. You can be a cheerleader in my life. You can be there to support me.
Yeah.
But my journey is mine,
Mhm.
just like my past and my life experience, just like my thoughts are my own. It's me working on my own journey so that I can be better for us and you doing the same, that those things can happen. It doesn't mean you can't have the same journey. Obviously, life mastery is something that works for either sex, male or female, but at the end of the day, you've got to own it for yourself. It's your identity lived out. They can't project it on you. They can't tell you what it is. They can only support you in your journey and uncovering it and living it.
Absolutely beautiful. I love talking to you. Mark Collins on the Little Less Fear podcast. How can our viewers or watchers and our listeners get a hold of you and your book?
Thanks for asking. Like last time, I try and be a one-stop shop, and my one-stop shop is my website, freedom-4-life.net, freedom-4-life.net. You can find my course out there, Life Mastery, with all of the teaching, the training, all of the one-on-one sessions, and all of that. You can also find an ebook version of my book on my website, so you can have it on any device you want. My book has a hard copy, whether it's paperback, hard copy, or Kindle, can be found on Amazon as well. And if you have questions about life mastery and whether it's for you and how you can develop it and live it in your own life, you can reach out to me at Mark, M-A-R-K, at freedom-4-life.net.
Mark Collins, always a pleasure. So nice to see you again. Thank you so much for sharing your incredible light. You're glowing. I love it. I love you, and I'll keep in touch. Let's keep in touch.
Absolutely, doctor. Thanks so much for the time. This was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to a Little Less Fear podcast. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends and your family about A Little Less Fear podcast. And if you are interested in being on my show, feel free to leave me an email at a little less fear at gmail.com. Or if you have any questions or comments and you also want to leave me an additional message, you can also do so from my website, leaving an inquiry at www.alittlelessfear.com. You can get a copy of my book on Amazon, Amazon Kindle, and Amazon Kindle Unlimited, also titled A Little Less Fear. And thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate all the support. Leave me a review if you get a chance. I love to receive feedback, questions, and comments. And any way that I can be of support to you, please let me know. Thank you so much. I love you. Wishing you love, light, happiness, and many blessings your way.